You've checked your phone 47 times today. You don't remember any of it, and that's exactly how it was designed. The average person now touches their phone over 2,600 times a day. Heavy users cross 5,400. That's a tap, a swipe, or a glance every 10 to 15 seconds of waking life. You are not choosing to do this. You are not deciding in any meaningful sense to pick up your phone right now. Your hand is moving toward it before you know why. This is not a metaphor. This is not a vibe. This is a measurable, documented neurological event happening inside your skull. And the people who built the systems causing it knew exactly what they were doing. Let's start with the actual mechanism, because once you understand it, you can't unsee it. In 1954, two researchers at McGill University, James Olds and Peter Milner, were trying to study learning in rats. They implanted electrodes in the rats' brains and ran a simple experiment. Press a lever, get a small electrical pulse to a specific brain region, then watch what happened. What happened broke their experiment. The rats pressed the lever 700 times an hour. They pressed it until they collapsed. They pressed it instead of eating. They pressed it instead of drinking. Mother rats abandoned their newborn pups to press it. One rat pressed the lever 2,000 times an hour for 24 hours straight before it died of exhaustion. Olds and Milner had accidentally discovered the brain's reward circuit. The specific region was the nucleus accumbens, and the chemical it released was dopamine. And the most important finding from that experiment was not that dopamine feels good. It's that dopamine does not actually reward you for the thing you just did. It rewards you for the anticipation of the thing you're about to do. Read that again. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure. It's the chemical of wanting. It fires before the reward arrives. It's what makes you reach for the lever, not what makes you enjoy the pulse. This is the single most important fact in understanding what your phone is doing to you, because every notification, every red badge, every pull to refresh, every someone is typing indicator, these are not designed to make you feel good. They are designed to make you anticipate feeling good. And that anticipation is the most powerful behavioral driver evolution ever built. Now here's where it gets dark. In 1930, a behavioral psychologist named B.F. Skinner built a box. Inside the box was a lever and a food dispenser. He put pigeons in the box. When the pigeon pressed the lever, food came out. The pigeons learned this immediately, pressed the lever when hungry, and otherwise did nothing. Then Skinner changed one thing. He made the food come out randomly. Sometimes the lever gave food, sometimes it didn't. The pigeon couldn't predict it. The pigeons started pressing the lever obsessively. They pressed it when they weren't hungry. They pressed it until their feet were raw. The unpredictable reward schedule had broken something in their behavior, turned a tool for getting food into a compulsion that overrode every other instinct. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. It is the single most addictive reward structure that exists in nature. It is what makes gambling work. It is why slot machines are the most profitable form of legal entertainment ever invented. The slot machine doesn't pay out every time. It doesn't pay out on a schedule. It pays out randomly, and the randomness is what destroys you. Now think about pulling down to refresh your feed. Think about opening Instagram. Think about checking if anyone replied to your text. Sometimes there's something, usually there isn't. You don't know which it'll be, so you check again and again and again. The pull to refresh gesture on your phone was invented in 2008 by a developer named Lauren Brichter. He has since said publicly that he regrets it. In a 2017 interview with The Guardian, he said, "Pull to refresh is addictive. Twitter is addictive. These are not good things." He compared it to a slot machine. That comparison was not casual, it was a confession. But here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. The people designing these apps didn't stumble into this by accident. They studied it. They hired it. They engineered it deliberately. In 2017, Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, gave an interview interview in which he described how the platform was built. His exact words, the thought process was, how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible? That means we need to give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while. It's a social validation feedback loop, exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. The inventors, creators, understood this consciously, and we did it anyway. Chamath Palihapitiya, the former Facebook VP of user growth, said in 2017 that he feels tremendous guilt for what they built. His words, the short-term, dopamine-driven feedback loops we've created are destroying how society works. The people who built the cage have locked themselves out of it. That should tell you something. Now let's talk about what this is actually doing to your brain, because this is where the conversation usually ends. But the neuroscience is way more specific than that. Your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for sustained attention, long-term planning, and impulse control. It's the most evolutionarily recent part of the human brain and the last part to fully develop, typically not until age 25. It is also the most metabolically expensive part of your brain to operate. Focused attention is genuinely hard. It costs glucose, it costs effort. The brain, like every other organ, is built to conserve energy whenever possible. When you check your phone, you are giving your brain a way out of that effort. You're trading the slow, expensive work of sustained attention for the fast, cheap dopamine of a notification. And over time, this is documented in functional MRI studies, your brain rewires to prefer the cheap version. A 2017 study from the University of Texas found that the mere presence of a smartphone on a desk, even powered off, even face down, measurably reduced participants' working memory and fluid intelligence on cognitive tests. Not using it, just having it nearby. Your brain knows it's there. A portion of your attention is permanently allocated to monitoring it. You cannot reclaim that attention by willpower. It is being spent whether you want it to be or not. A 2020 meta-analysis looked at brain scans of heavy smartphone users versus light users. The heavy users showed reduced gray matter volume in the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula, regions associated with emotional regulation and impulse control. The same pattern, structurally, that shows up in scans of people with substance use disorders. The question now is not whether your phone is changing you. That has been settled by the data. The question is whether the version of you it's creating is one you would have chosen if you could see it from the outside. Here's what we know works, and it's almost insultingly simple. Studies on attention restoration consistently show that 30 minutes a day of phone-free time in nature measurably restores prefrontal function within 2 to 3 weeks. Sleeping with the phone in another room improves sleep quality more than any sleep aid on the market. Turning off all non-human notifications reduces compulsive checking by over 50% within a week. None of this requires willpower. It requires geography. You don't have to resist the slot machine. You just have to leave the casino. The mice in the Skinner box couldn't leave. They pressed the lever until they collapsed because they had no choice and no awareness of what was being done to them. You have both. The awareness now of what the device in your hand is actually doing, and the choice every single day of how much of yourself you're willing to hand over to it.